something that I kind of have come to realize over the years, especially recently, especially pandemic onset. The community, the scene that plays fighting games is so much bigger than what it used to be. And that comes with some natural, if I say consequences, that sounds negative, but that's really what it is. You have to understand, for some of the older players, we come from a certain background and a certain environment that instilled in us certain values with regards to how we play, not even just fighting games, but like sports, whatever kind of shit, competitive attitude, a certain competitive attitude, I guess you say. And it's like when you have so many generations that are consolidated in a 10 to 15 year period, and some of them just come from so many different environments that we previously did not really have, what happens is sometimes some of those values kind of get lost, and it creates kind of like a cultural shift and a departure because there are more of these new people than there are old people. And so I think that kind of came up in the past day or so. And look, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I don't like creating videos around fighting game Twitter because they say the same stupid shit all the fucking time over there. And it's just, it's annoying. I don't like doing that. Look, this is what it is. This is the answer. This is how it is. It was the same thing 2 or 3 years ago as it is today. I'm done with it, right? But I don't know, something I saw, let's just go into it, right? So Umisho, I think, is sort of one of the top Stride players in North America, right? And they made this post. Please don't DM me to ask for sets if I don't know you. Thank you. Reasonable, especially, I'll tell you, as somebody who gets some pretty crazy ass DMs, no arguments there. That's probably a weird way to ask for some shit. It's just probably not a good idea. And I'm assuming on Discord or whatever. And the other thing too is, like, I want to be charitable too, because I don't know Umisho personally. I don't obviously fuck with Strive like that. So it's just something that I'm kind of self-conscious of too. So I don't want to come off as like, fuck this person or anything like that. I'm just kind of riffing off of what was discussed. I think what people really took an issue with was this quote, and this is a follow-up post to that, where they say, most people, me included, just don't want to commit their time to playing someone that they will probably get no meaningful practice out of playing. I don't think that's weird. So here's the thing, this mindset is not something new, actually. There's been times in the past where I could say, even like a long time ago, where, players that would kind of like start to perform well and create accolades and stuff like that, some would develop attitudes where they don't want to like really associate with people who don't have that same level of, reputation, I guess. And they kind of like create their own clique in that respect. This mindset isn't new. This is something that is an old thing. Not everybody used to do this, just some people, but it was noticeable. And I think even some of those old players that used to do that, even over time, they came around to where some of them now who used to be like that are the polar opposite because they realized the value in doing the opposite. Strive in particular, like a few North American-based fighting game scenes, I'm gonna just put it bluntly, this is a community that you have to understand is hovering really, really close to Smash Brothers-dom. And what I mean by that is, this is a community where you have a large player base, but where lines between players and fans, that gap is more distinguished than maybe some other titles. And a negative consequence of that is that they develop that Smash playerdom, player worship, idolatry, where I'm not looking at this player and saying, oh man, I want to compete with them, I want to beat them in a bracket someday. They're saying, wow, this person is godlike, in the greatest of all time. The result of that too is you're gonna get a lot of fucking weirdos, straight up. So I'm sure, I'm just thinking like my personal experience, I get some crazy shit. I can only imagine what they get. So there's nothing wrong with that. And here's another thing too is no top player or elite level player is beholden, or they don't owe you any like time or anything like that. Likewise, you don't owe other people anything like that. But here's the thing, with respect to all that, there comes a threshold where you are kind of a de facto leader and person who is making personal gain off of a community. So the issue then becomes, yes, you are not obligated to play other people or something like that. Like, here's the thing too, and this is one reason why I don't like doing the Twitter thing, is because fighting game community Twitter, I've said this before, is notoriously very bad at articulating themselves. So this is obviously just like a head-ass tweet the way it's worded, but I think if you gave them another opportunity, and yeah, that like kind of plays out. They definitely have some follow-ups, you know. Once upon a time in this game, community may have been my everything, which is extremely unhealthy, frankly. That time is long gone. I have many more things to care about. Hate me for it if you want, after all, but my prerogative going forward is the game is purely to play and to win. That's what I play for. I do it for me, not for you. I'm not here to be anyone's icon. I want to make that clear. I am not a role model, basically. Even Leffen agrees, you know, like the wording on this is kind of dumb. It's a dumb thing to just put out there. But there is some, you know, there's something there. And again, just to be more charitable here, Umisho, to my knowledge, I don't know for a fact, like I said, I don't know them personally, but my impression of them is they came up in Strive from a primarily Overwatch background and made that transition and won EVO. When you come up in a game that in that era is mostly developed around Discord and online matchmaking, not a lot of in-person interactions, as we kind of get out of lockdown era and then into post-pandemic where things become a little bit more normal, there's a natural perceivable culture clash there, right? And I think that's kind of what you can observe here, like in like you're just watching a generational and cultural gap. Frankly, we're built different. Like we don't come from the same background, kind of thing. And that's really kind of what's rearing its head here. And it's just something you know, older players are gonna have to come to terms with. There's certain, I think, cultural norms or things that you have instilled that might not necessarily be represented by people in the modern community. And so other people kind of riffed on that too. You know, K-Brat kind of takes the twist of where we were all terrible at one point and someone much better than us gave us the time of day and smoked us. This isn't it. Big Bird, of course, you know, I can see where they're coming from. As a top player, you don't owe anyone anything, but we all started at some point, and you have to reach out to better people to. Yeah, and that's the thing. Generally, the way this works is you're dependent on experience with higher level players around you in order for you to get better, right? Umisho in this case is kind of an anomaly in that they won an EVO on a game without that, right? Primarily just online. That doesn't really happen that often. This is a spin on it that you can take a lot of ways and you can apply to a lot of people, a lot of creators, streamers, etc., right? On some level, you're not where you are. You don't reap the rewards that you do if it isn't for this random person that you're now looking at and saying, I don't see value in playing you. That guy or that person that you said, I have no value in playing you, is going to enter that bracket and pay $10, $20 that you're going to win the prize pool off of. What I'm leading you down the road of thought to is now, ultimately, you are the one that benefits from a stronger, more developed community that your experience with is going to make better. That's really what this is. So when I see this kind of mindset, it reminds me too of a personal experience I had. You know, this is like now what, 15 years ago? This is Third Strike 25th anniversary tournament in Austin, Texas. This was a qualifier. Player on the left is Fubar Duck. You guys might know him. I'm pretty grateful to him. He's helped me out shit. He sold me my first arcade cabinet. He's longtime owner of Arcade UFO and longtime top North American Third Strike player. Also came out to Japan, had his own like arc, you know, out here. But on the one player side is a player who I know personally, because if you watch some of my videos and if you're not a stranger to this channel, you can, specifically the Obama Tales YouTube series, I talk a lot about places like Dibs, places like Fun Arcade, where I routinely would just get my ass beat by people who were a lot better than me. So Stone's in the chat. I was going to say there's some names there. I could drop a lot more names, right? But this one came to mind immediately is like, dude, when I was just mashing on Third Strike, and I would never claim to be a Third Strike player. I am a masher in this game. I'm not a player, you know? This was a guy who routinely, I mean, 4 or 5 nights a week, would go to some of these places and would be down to throw down with anybody. And he's very good. And I'm thinking there were some nights where, man, there was another guy who was around my level when we first started. His name was Matt. And between Christian, between Alonzo, and several other people, I can remember so many nights where we would go to somebody's house or just end up in one of these places, and we would play until the crack of dawn. And it's like, for them, they ultimately saw it as playing with you is going to make you better, and then I'll have someone else to play. And it's like, you probably don't have that sense or that perception, I guess, if your game just naturally has thousands of people playing it online on a regular basis, right? But back then, it was like, you know, shit, if people wanted to boot up and wanted to play, that's an opportunity for you to create another good player. You know what I mean? Ultimately, you got to look at it as like a neighborhood. If you're not willing to take responsibility for the welfare of your own environment, how you think that neighborhood's going to turn out? You can complain about it, you can talk about it, but if you're not even willing to put in work to try to give back to it, or to try to develop it into the kind of ideal place that you want it to be, then what are we really doing? You know? And I recognize that part of that is values, and part of that is instilled from a generation that's long past, and some of that didn't really carry over. I recognize that, but like I said, when I see this kind of difference, it makes me ask the question aloud: what kind of game are you actually playing? What kind of community is this actually? And I guess it was really, really cool. I was already in Japan by the time this event went down, but it was really cool for me to see him still out there, still playing, even after I came out here and made my, kind of pilgrimage. I don't know if he still plays. I'm pretty sure he went to pharmacy school or something like that. But Christian, if you're out there and you watch this, good shit, man. Hope you're doing well. But I just wanted to leave you with this. And I think if you ask a lot of your favorite players, they'll all have a similar story, I think, of people that were willing to give them a shot, people that were willing to play and develop them. I can honestly say if it wasn't for this guy, if it wasn't for Stone, if it wasn't for, I could name like 5 or 6 other key names, I'm probably not here. I'm probably not here talking to you about this kind of stuff. And so when I saw that conversation develop on, unfortunately develop on Twitter, it kind of got me thinking about that. And I was like, For me, it made me feel very old because it was just a very clear generational gap that I could perceive. I'm not saying that to dogpile on anybody or anything like that, but I just it makes me question certain things. I don't know. I don't know if any of that resonates with anybody out there or if it's just me rambling. I'll put it this way. I think it says a lot about the game if you can't play someone worse than you and have something in your mind to practice, execute better, a setup or new setup that you want to try to get someone with, a new confirm that you want to practice with. I think that says a lot about the game if you can't play someone worse than you and have something to focus on when you play with them in order to improve. I think that's something you should consider. Not just about the community, not just about the people that play it. And I'm not trying to, again, not trying to make any pointed statements or anything. Actually, no, fuck that. I am trying to make a pointed statement. No, what the fuck are we talking about here? No, that does say something about the game. It does say something about the people. No, I'm tired of apologizing. Fuck that shit. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about it in the comments below, and I'll holler at you later.